William Carter stood on the bridge of the UES horizon, his eyes fixed on the massive alien vessel that hung in space before them. The ship was unlike anything humans had ever built, sleek, almost organic in design, with a surface that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. After centuries of wondering if humanity was alone in the universe, they finally had their answer. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the alien ship," said Communications Officer Paul Bryant. Carter straightened his uniform. At 53, with gray streaking his dark hair, he carried the weight of humanity's first contact on his shoulders. "Put it through, Officer Bryant." The main screen flickered to life, revealing a being with pale blue skin, 6 eyes arranged in a circular pattern, and what appeared to be breathing tendrils where a human would have a mouth. The Universal Earth Alliance had prepared for this moment for decades, but nothing could truly ready someone for the first conversation with an alien species. "I am Admiral William Carter of the United Earth Alliance. We come in peace and friendship, seeking to establish diplomatic relations." The eyed alien made a series of clicking sounds before a mechanical voice translated, "I am Supreme Commander Zorl of the Zorelian Empire. We have observed your species for some time. Your development is interesting." Lieutenant Olivia Martinez stood nearby, her dark eyes narrowed in concentration. As the UEA's top xenolinguist, she had been studying potential alien communication patterns for years. Something in the alien's tone made her uneasy. "Admiral," she whispered, "there are subtle threat markers in their vocal patterns. The translation isn't capturing it, but their speech contains what might be dominance signaling." Carter gave a small nod to show he heard her but kept his expression neutral. "We welcome this meeting," Carter said. "We have prepared a cultural exchange package to help our species understand each other better." The Zorelian commander's tendrils rippled. "Cultural exchange is unnecessary. We have studied your broadcasts for decades. We understand your species well enough. We have come to offer you protection." "Protection?" Carter asked. "From what threat?" "The galaxy is dangerous, Admiral. Many species would see yours as nothing but resources to be harvested. The Zorelian Empire offers protection to developing worlds, for a reasonable tribute." Martinez touched Carter's arm. "Sir, this sounds like a protection racket." Carter's jaw tightened. "Commander Zorl, while we appreciate your concern, Earth and its colonies are capable of defending themselves. We're interested in friendship and trade, not tribute arrangements." The cow. Alien's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. "You misunderstand, Admiral. This is not a negotiation. The tribute will be 30% of your planet's mineral production and access rights to your outer planets. In exchange, we will allow your species to continue its development under our guidance." The bridge fell silent. Carter felt the eyes of his crew on him. "Perhaps there's been a misunderstanding," Carter said carefully. "Earth cannot agree to these terms. However, we're willing to discuss fair trade agreements that benefit both our peoples." The alien commander's breathing tendrils stiffened. "There is no misunderstanding. Lesser species do not dictate terms to the Zorelian Empire. You will submit or you will be made an example of." Olivia Martinez stepped forward. "Supreme Commander, with respect, Earth has a long history of resisting threats. We've come seeking peace, but please understand that humans do not respond well to demands or intimidation." The Zorelian's eyes focused on Martinez. "A female speaks for your military? Your species is more primitive than we thought." Carter's face flushed with anger, but he kept his voice level. "Lieutenant Martinez is one of our finest officers. On Earth, we value skill and intelligence over physical characteristics." "Curious," the alien said. "We had reports of your strange customs, but to see it is disturbing. No matter. You have 1 Earth rotation to consider our generous offer. After that, we will demonstrate the consequences of refusal." The screen went dark. "Well, that could have gone better," said Captain George Wilson, second in command of the Horizon. Carter turned to his bridge crew. "I want a full scan of that vessel. Weapons, defenses, everything you can get without them noticing." "Sir," Martinez said, "based on their communication patterns, I don't believe they're bluffing. Their language contains certainty markers consistent with the species used to being obeyed. Noted, Lieutenant, but neither are we. Carter moved to the command console. Get me a secure line to Earth Command, and prepare our diplomatic shuttle. We'll meet them face to face tomorrow. Maybe without the distance of screens between us, we can find some common ground. 20 hours later, the diplomatic shuttle departed from the horizon with Carter, Martinez, and a team of Earth's best diplomats on board. Among them was Dr. Daniel Green, Earth's foremost expert on interspecies ethics and diplomacy. Remember, Dr. Green told the team as they approached the Zarelian vessel, "We must be respectful but firm. Many species may view politeness as weakness. We need to establish boundaries while remaining open to compromise." The shuttle docked with the alien ship, and the Earth delegation was escorted through curving corridors by silent Zarelian guards. The aliens towered over the humans by at least 2 feet, their muscular bodies covered in what appeared to be a natural armor. The meeting chamber was vast, with strange symbols etched into metallic walls that seemed to pulse with energy. Supreme. Commander Zorl sat on an elevated platform, surrounded by what appeared to be military advisors. "You have considered our offer?" the commander asked without preamble. Admiral Carter stepped forward. "We have. Earth proposes instead a mutual defense pact and trade agreement. We have much to offer each other through peaceful cooperation." The Zarelian commander's breathing tendrils twisted in what Martinez recognized as a sign of anger. "You counteroffer? To us?" The Zarelian's voice rose. "This is an insult that cannot be tolerated." Dr. Green tried to intervene. "Commander, we meant no offense. In our culture, negotiation is—" A blast of energy from one of the Zarelian guards struck Dr. Green mid-sentence. He collapsed to the floor, his body still. "Daniel!" Martinez cried out, rushing to his side. She looked up at the aliens in shock. "He's dead. You killed him for speaking." Carter stepped in front of his remaining team. "This is an act of war. We came in peace." The Zarelian commander rose to his full height. "Peace is for equals. You are not our equals. This meeting is over. The only terms now are unconditional surrender." Alarms began to sound throughout the alien vessel. On a wall screen, Carter saw the horizon under attack from 3 smaller Zarelian ships that had appeared from behind a nearby moon. "Run!" Carter ordered his team. "Back to the shuttle!" The human delegation fled, pursued by Zarelian guards. Captain Wilson's voice came through Carter's communicator. "Admiral, we're taking heavy fire. 3 diplomats' shuttles have been destroyed already. Get out now." The team barely made it back to their shuttle. As they detached from the Zarelian ship, they saw the horizon fighting desperately against the ambush, its shields already failing. "Wilson, hold them off just long enough for us to dock, then prepare for immediate jump to Earth," Carter ordered. As their shuttle approached the horizon, a Zarelian blast struck them, damaging their engines. The shuttle limped into the docking bay just as another hit rocked the Earth ship. "Jump now," Carter shouted as they scrambled aboard the horizon. The stars stretched around them as the ship entered faster-than-light travel, barely escaping the Zarelian trap. On the bridge, Carter looked at the damage reports. Half the crew dead. 3 diplomatic vessels destroyed with all hands. The horizon itself barely functional. "They planned this all along," Martinez said, her voice hollow with shock. "The meeting was just to get us close enough to destroy us." Carter nodded grimly. "They think we're weak because we sought peace." He looked out at the streaking stars as they fled toward Earth. "But they've made a terrible mistake." "What's that, sir?" asked a young officer. "They've just picked a fight with the most stubborn, resourceful, and vengeful species in the galaxy." Carter's eyes hardened. "They want war? We'll bring them a war they'll never forget." The UES Horizon limped back to Earth with its damaged engines and wounded crew. Admiral Carter stood at the viewport as the blue-green planet came into view. Earth still knew nothing of the disaster that had just happened, but soon everyone would understand that humanity was at war. 3 days later, Carter faced the United Earth Alliance War Council in the underground chamber beneath Geneva. The room was silent as the Admiral finished his report on the failed first contact in the Zarelian attack. "So they killed our diplomats and declared war because we tried to negotiate?" asked President Laura Nelson, her face pale under the harsh lights. Yes, Madam President, Carter replied. The Zarelians view diplomacy as weakness. They expected us to submit immediately to their demands. General Frank Morrison, a tall man with a permanent scowl, slammed his fist on the table. This is madness. Their technology is at least a century ahead of ours. Their empire spans dozens of star systems, while we've barely colonized Mars and Europa. We should sue for peace immediately. With respect, General, they don't want peace, Lieutenant Olivia Martinez said from her seat beside Carter. Based on their communication patterns and actions, the Zarelians only respect strength. Any attempt to surrender now would likely result in worse terms than their original demands. President Nelson rubbed her temples. What are our options, then? You've seen their ships, Admiral. Can we fight them? Before Carter could answer, the doors to the chamber opened. A woman with short gray hair and intense eyes walked in, flanked by 2 security officers. She carried a tablet computer and wore the insignia of the UEA Science Division. Dr. Susan Wright, President Nelson said with surprise. This is a closed meeting. I apologize for the interruption, Madam President, but what I have to say can't wait. Dr. Wright nodded to Carter. Admiral, the Phoenix project is ready. Carter's eyes widened. Phoenix? That's still experimental? Not anymore. Dr. Wright placed her tablet on the table, and a holographic display appeared above it. It showed schematics for weapons and defense systems unlike anything publicly known. We've been developing these technologies since we first detected alien signals 50 years ago. The previous administration felt it was prudent to prepare for unfriendly contact. Why wasn't I informed of this? President Nelson demanded. Plausible deniability, Madam President, Dr. Wright explained. If first contact had gone well, revealing that we were secretly developing advanced weapons might have damaged relations. But now, she gestured to the display. Now we need every advantage we can get. General Morrison leaned forward, studying the schematics. These are real? Tested? The core technologies work, Dr. Wright said. We've tested them in secret facilities on Europa. What we haven't had is a way to deploy them at scale. Carter stood up. That's where the civilian fleet comes in. We have thousands of mining ships, transport vessels, and private craft. If we can retrofit them with these weapons, we create an army out of nothing, Martinez finished. President Nelson looked troubled. How quickly can this be done? With full resources, 3 months for the first wave, Dr. Wright answered. We need someone to lead the retrofit program, someone who understands both civilian ships and military needs. I know just the person, Carter said. Adam Reeves, former Marine, now runs the biggest shipyard in the belt. If anyone can get this done, it's him. President Nelson was quiet for a long moment. The weight of the decision before her was visible in her eyes. Finally, she nodded. Make it happen. Dr. Wright, you have full authority and whatever resources you need. Admiral Carter, prepare our existing military vessels to buy us time. As the meeting ended, Martinez approached Carter in the hallway. Sir, there's something else we need. What's that, Lieutenant? Intelligence. We barely know anything about Zarelian tactics or weaknesses. We need someone who can analyze the data from our encounter and find patterns we can exploit. Carter nodded. I know someone, Natalie Harding. She works in intelligence analysis, has a photographic memory. If there's anything to find in the data, she'll find it. 2 weeks later, Adam Reeves stood in his shipyard on Ceres looking at the plans Dr. Wright had sent him. At 45, with strong arms from years of hands-on work and a beard streaked with gray, he had seen many challenges in his career. This was different. You want me to turn mining lasers into weapons that can damage alien warships? He asked. Dr. Wright over the video link. Not exactly, she replied. We want to replace them with these. The screen showed a new type of energy weapon. The technology uses principles similar to your mining equipment, but amplified through methods I'm not at liberty to discuss over this channel. Reeves scratched his beard. My crews aren't soldiers, Doc. They don't need to be. They just need to follow instructions and be brave. Can they do that? Reeves looked around his shipyard at the hundreds of workers, many of whom had families, in the belt colonies. When the Zarelians come, and they will come, these people will be the first in the line of fire. So yeah, they'll fight. Not because they want to, but because they'll have no choice. Good, Dr. Wright said. The first supply ships will reach you in 3 days. We're counting on you, Mr. Reeves. Meanwhile, in a secure facility beneath the lunar colony, Natalie Harding stared at screens filled with data from the Horizon encounter. With dark skin and hair pulled back in a tight bun, she had the focused look of someone who never missed details. For 72 hours straight, she had been analyzing every second of sensor data, every frame of video, every energy reading from the Zarelian ships. Their shield frequencies change in a pattern, she muttered to herself, making notes. Not random, there's a sequence. Her fingers flew over the keyboard as she ran another simulation. Lieutenant Martinez entered the room with 2 cups of coffee. Found anything? Harding barely looked up. Maybe. Their weapons charge for 3.7 seconds before firing at full power. There's a vulnerability window there, and their ships always attack in groups of 3, never 2, never 4. Cultural significance? Martinez asked. Possibly. Or tactical doctrine. Either way, it's predictable. Harding took the coffee gratefully. There's something else. Their sensors seem to have a blind spot directly behind their propulsion systems. The radiation from their engines creates interference. Martinez smiled for the first time since the attack. That's something we can use. The first Zarelian attack came sooner than expected. 3 warships appeared near the Mars colony with no warning. The few military vessels stationed there were quickly destroyed. But then something unexpected happened. Civilian mining ships, their usual equipment replaced with prototype weapons, swarmed from the asteroid fields. They attacked from behind, targeting the Zarelian ships' engine blind spots. The miners followed the battle plans developed by Harding and transmitted throughout the system. 2 Zarelian ships were destroyed before the third retreated. The victory had been costly. 17 mining ships lost with all hands, but it sent a clear message. In the UEA War Council chamber, Admiral Carter received the news with grim satisfaction. We've bloodied their nose, he told President Nelson. Now we prepare to break their jaw. What's our next step? The president asked. Carter's eyes were hard. They think this was our best defense. They don't know what's coming next. We're going to show them that picking a fight with humanity was the worst mistake they ever made. 6 months passed since the first Zarelian attack. Earth had lost its outer colonies, but the inner system remained under human control. The Phoenix Project had transformed civilian ships into a fighting force that surprised the alien invaders. Again and again, Admiral Carter stood on the bridge of the newly built UES Defiance, Earth's first warship designed with Dr. Wright's advanced technology. The vessel was smaller than Zarelian warships, but faster and more maneuverable. Around him, the bridge crew prepared for humanity's first major offensive. All ships report ready, Admiral, said Captain Ellen Rodriguez, his second in command. Carter nodded. Begin the operation. The Defiance and 30 other vessels, a mix of military and converted civilian ships, jumped into faster-than-light travel. Their destination, the Proxima system, now a major Zarelian fuel production center. In the strategy room below deck, Lieutenant Martinez worked with Natalie Harding. Over the past months, Martinez had developed an algorithm that could predict Zarelian communications, allowing human forces to anticipate enemy movements. Their patrol ships will change positions in approximately 20 minutes, Harding said, pointing to a holographic map. That will give us a 10-minute window to approach their main facility. Martinez nodded. The algorithm is holding. We're getting better at reading them. She turned to a young man sitting nearby, his fingers tapping restlessly on the console. Are you ready, Collins? Ryan Collins grinned. At 28, he was the best pilot in the fleet, known for flying patterns that no one else dared to attempt. With messy brown hair and an ever-present look of excitement, he didn't fit the usual military mold. Born ready, Lieutenant, he replied. My squadron has been practicing the approach run for weeks. The Zarelians won't know what hit them. Martinez smiled despite the tension. Collins had a way of lightening the mood, even facing impossible odds. Just remember, This isn't about destroying their fuel facilities. It's about sending a message. 6 hours later, the human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel on the edge of the Proxima system. They powered down all non-essential systems, drifting silently toward their target. On the bridge, Carter watched the countdown. 5 minutes until the patrol shift change. All ships maintain radio silence. The moments ticked by slowly. Then, right on schedule, the Zarelian patrol vessels began moving to new positions, creating a brief gap in their defense network. Now, Carter ordered. The human fleet powered up and accelerated toward the main Zarelian facility, a massive structure orbiting Proxima Centauri's second planet. Before the aliens could respond, Collins and his squadron shot ahead of the main fleet, flying in patterns that confused Zarelian targeting systems. "They're scrambling to respond," Harding reported, watching the Zarelian communications. "Their command structures in disarray. They didn't expect an attack here." The first human ships reached the facility and launched their weapons. The new Phoenix missiles bypassed Zarelian shields, striking directly at the weak points Harding had identified. Explosions bloomed silently in space as sections of the facility began to break apart. Zarelian warships finally organized a response, but they were too late. By the time they engaged the human fleet, half of the fuel facility was already destroyed. "All ships begin Phase 2, Carter ordered. Collins and his pilots drew the Zarelian defenders away from the facility while the main fleet continued the assault. 2 human ships were destroyed, but 5 Zarelian vessels were disabled or destroyed. In return, "Admiral," Martinez called from the strategy room, "we're picking up a transmission from their command ship. They're calling for reinforcements from nearby systems." Carter nodded. "Right on schedule. Rodriguez, prepare to withdraw." As the human fleet finished their attack and began to pull back, Carter gave one final order. "Lieutenant Martinez, send our message." Martinez activated a special transmitter. Using her knowledge of Zarelian language and syntax, she had prepared a message that would be impossible for them to misunderstand. It broadcast on all Zarelian frequencies. "You wanted war? We're bringing you war. This is just the beginning." Ducks. Human fleet jumped away before the Zarelian reinforcements arrived. They left behind 5 destroyed Zarelian facilities, 3 destroyed warships, and 2 damaged ones. The human losses were just 2 ships. Back on Earth, 3 days later, the War Council met to discuss the raid's success. "This changes everything," President Nelson said. "For the first time, we've taken the fight to them." General Morrison, who had once advocated surrender, now leaned forward eagerly. "We should press the advantage, strike more of their facilities, while they're still in shock." Dr. Wright shook her head. "We don't have the resources for a sustained offensive campaign. This raid worked because they didn't expect it. They'll be better prepared next time," Carter agreed. "This wasn't about winning the war in one blow. It was about showing them that humans aren't easy prey. It was about changing how they see us." Meanwhile, in the Zarelian High Command Chamber, Supreme Commander Zorl faced harsh questions from the Imperial Council. "How did primitive humans manage to strike at our core production facility?" demanded Council Leader Vax. "You assured us they would be crushed within days." Zorl's tendrils twitched nervously. "We underestimated their adaptability. Their technology has advanced at an impossible rate, and their tactics are unpredictable." "Their message was clear enough," another council member said. "They are bringing the war to us. This cannot stand." "I will handle the humans personally," Zorl promised. "I request command of the Imperial fleet." The council leader considered this. "Granted, but understand, Zorl, if you fail again, you will not return to face our displeasure. Is that clear?" Back on the UES Defiance, Carter met with his key officers to plan their next moves. The raid's success had boosted morale throughout the fleet, but Carter knew the Zarelians would respond with greater force. "They'll be coming for Earth now," Martinez warned. The raid hurt their pride as much as their resources. Adam Reeves, who had joined them via hologram from his shipyard, nodded. "We've retrofitted nearly every civilian vessel we can, but we need more time to build actual warships." Natalie Harding spoke up. Based on their communication patterns, I believe the Xerelians are bringing in their main fleet. They won't underestimate us again. Ryan Collins leaned against the wall, his usual grin replaced by a serious expression. So what's the plan, Admiral? We can't hide in our own system forever. Carter looked at each of them in turn. These people represented humanity's best hope: intelligence, engineering skill, courage, and determination. Qualities the Xerelians had never expected from what they considered a lesser species. We've changed the rules of this war, Carter said. The Xerelians expected a quick surrender. Instead, they got a fight. Now we need to show them that no matter how technologically advanced they are, humanity will never give up. He activated the holographic display, showing the known Xerelian territory. Dr. Wright, how soon until the new quantum drives are ready? 1 month, maybe less, she replied. But they're even more experimental than the Phoenix weapons. We haven't tested them on anything larger than a shuttle. Get them ready, Carter ordered, because we're going to hit them where they never expect it. Their home world. 2 years had passed since first contact. The war had reached a stalemate. The Xerelians could not break through Earth's inner defenses, and humans lacked the numbers to push deeper into Xerelian space. Admiral Carter stood at the window of the Lunar Research Facility, watching Earth glow blue and green in the darkness of space. Behind him, Dr. Susan Wright worked with her team on the quantum entanglement drive, their most ambitious project yet. Will it work? Carter asked without turning around. Dr. Wright looked up from her calculations. In theory, yes. The drive creates a temporary connection between 2 points in space. No travel time. We simply appear at our destination. And if the theory is wrong, then the ship and everyone on it will be scattered across multiple dimensions. Dr. Wright removed her glasses and rubbed her tired eyes. But the simulations are promising. We're ready for a full-scale test. Carter nodded. Good, because we're running out of time. On Earth, the war had changed daily life dramatically. Resources were rationed and most production focused on the military. Yet despite the hardships, humanity had united in a way never seen before. Old conflicts were set aside as people worked together against the common threat. In her intelligence, Office Natalie Harding reviewed the latest Xerelian communications they had intercepted. After 2 years of studying the enemy, she had developed an intuitive understanding of their culture and military structure. There it is, she whispered to herself, noticing a pattern in the data. She immediately called Lieutenant Martinez, who had been promoted to head of Xerelian intelligence. I've found something, Harding said when Martinez arrived. Look at their command structure. Everything flows from the top down, with no initiative allowed at lower levels. Martinez studied the diagrams Harding had created. So their rigid hierarchy is a weakness. Exactly. Their entire military depends on orders from the high command. If we could somehow capture or neutralize their leadership, their forces would be paralyzed. Martinez's eyes widened with the implication. We need to tell Admiral Carter immediately. At the lunar facility, Carter met with his core team, Martinez, Harding, Collins, and Dr. Wright. Also present was Major Lisa Valdez, leader of the UEA's Elite Special Operations Unit. With her short black hair and intense gaze, Valdez had a reputation for accomplishing the impossible. Let me understand this plan, Valdez said after hearing Harding's discovery. You want my team to sneak onto the Xerelian homeworld, grab their leaders, and bring them back? Through the heart of their defense fleet. That's where the quantum drive comes in, Carter explained. It can take us directly to their homeworld, bypassing their fleets entirely. We've identified the location of their high command center, Harding added, showing a holographic map of the Xerelian capital city. They never expected anyone to reach their homeworld, so the security is focused on space defense, not ground infiltration. Ryan Collins leaned forward. I can fly us in. If we use a small enough ship, their sensors might not detect us until it's too late. Valdez considered the plan. Even with surprise on our side, this is a suicide mission. Perhaps, Carter admitted. But if we succeed, we could end this war without destroying their civilization or losing more of ours. Dr. Wright cleared her throat. There's one more thing you should know. The quantum drive will have enough energy for the jump to the Zerelian homeworld, but the return trip will require time to recharge. You'll be stranded there for at least 6 hours. A heavy silence fell over the room. 6 hours on an enemy homeworld, surrounded by billions of hostile aliens. "I'll do it," Valdez said finally, "and I'll select 5 of my best people to come with me." "I'll pilot the ship," Collins volunteered. "I need to go too," Martinez added. "I'm the only one who can speak their language fluently enough to navigate their systems and find the high command." Carter nodded. "I'll lead the mission." Dr. Wright looked alarmed. "Admiral, you can't. You're too valuable to— This is too important to delegate," Carter interrupted. "If we're asking these people to risk their lives, I have to be willing to do the same." 1 week later, a small ship named the Whisper was ready for the mission. Built specifically for stealth, it had minimal weapons, but carried the experimental quantum drive. Carter, Martinez, Collins, Valdez, and 5 special operations soldiers prepared for the most daring mission of the war. Dr. Wright supervised the final checks on the quantum drive. "Remember, you'll have exactly 6 hours before the drive recharges for the return trip. 1 minute late and you'll be stranded." "Understood," Carter said, checking his weapon one last time. "If we don't make it back, implement Protocol Omega." Dr. Wright nodded grimly. Protocol Omega was the last resort, a full-scale attack on all known Zerelian positions regardless of the cost. The team boarded the Whisper. In the pilot seat, Collins ran through the pre-launch sequence. "Quantum drive charged and ready. Course locked to the coordinates of the Zerelian capital." "Everyone ready?" Carter asked, looking at each member of his team. They nodded, faces set with determination. "Activate the drive," Carter ordered. Collins pressed a sequence of controls. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then reality itself appeared to fold around the ship. The stars blurred, and a sensation like falling in all directions at once washed over them. When the world stabilized again, they were no longer near Earth. Through the view screen, they saw a planet with purple oceans and red-green land masses. The Zerelian homeworld. "We made it," Collins whispered, checking their position. "We're in low orbit on the night side of the planet. No signs of detection yet." "Take us down," Carter ordered. "Aim for the coordinates Harding provided." Collins guided the ship through the atmosphere, flying low to avoid detection. Below them, the alien city sprawled, its architecture strange and unsettling to human eyes. Tall, spiral structures connected by arching bridges dominated the landscape, lit by lights that pulsed in rhythmic patterns. "There," Martinez pointed to a massive structure at the city's center. "That's their high command center." Collins landed the Whisper on a rooftop 2 buildings away from their target. 6 hours starts now," he said, activating the timer. Valdez and her team moved out first, securing the landing zone. Carter, Martinez, and Collins followed, all wearing stealth suits designed to mask their heat signatures. "Remember," Carter told them, "our mission is to capture, not kill. We need the Zerelian leaders alive to force a negotiation." They moved through the alien city like shadows. Twice they had to hide as Zerelian security patrols passed nearby. Martinez guided them, using the building schematics Harding had decoded from intercepted communications. Finally, they reached the High Command Center. Martinez used a device she had developed to bypass the security system, and they slipped inside. "The main chamber should be 3 levels down," she whispered. They moved carefully through the building. Despite their precautions, an alarm suddenly blared through the structure. "We've been detected," Valdez warned. "Time to move fast." They rushed toward their objective, encountering resistance from Zerelian guards. Valdez and her team used stun weapons to clear the path forward. 2 minutes to the target," Martinez called out as they descended a spiral ramp. They burst into the high command chamber and found 3 Zerelian leaders in the middle of an emergency meeting. The aliens reached for weapons, but Valdez's team quickly neutralized the guards and surrounded the leaders. "We are taking you into custody," Carter announced as Martinez translated. "Cooperate, and no one else needs to be harmed." The Zerelian Supreme Commander, recognizable as Zorl from the first contact disaster, stared at Carter with his 6 eyes. Impossible. How did you reach our world? You underestimated us, Carter replied simply. Again. Alarms blared throughout the Zarelian High Command Center. Carter and his team moved quickly, securing their 3 high-value prisoners, Supreme Commander Zorl and 2 other members of the Zarelian Leadership Council. We have 90 minutes, until the quantum drive recharges, Collins reminded them, checking the timer on his wrist device. Major Valdez secured the prisoners with special restraints designed for Zarelian physiology. The building is on lockdown. More security forces. We'll be here soon. Then we need to move, Carter ordered. Collins, find us an alternate route back to the ship. Collins studied the building schematic on his portable device. There's a maintenance tunnel 3 levels up that should lead us to the adjacent building. From there, we can reach the roof where we landed. Just as they prepared to move, a massive explosion shook the building. Several of Valdez's team were thrown off their feet. Through a viewport, they saw Zarelian ships converging on the city center. They're willing to destroy their own headquarters to stop us, Martinez realized, helping one of the fallen soldiers up. Supreme Commander Zorl made a sound that Martinez recognized as laughter. You will never leave this planet alive, humans. Carter faced the alien leader. You still don't understand us, do you? We didn't come here to die. We came here to end this war. They moved through the building as Zarelian forces closed in. Twice they encountered security teams and had to fight their way through. One of Valdez's soldiers took a severe injury and could barely walk. Leave me, the wounded soldier, Private Joe Garcia, insisted as they reached the maintenance tunnel. I'll hold them off while you get the prisoners out. Major Valdez shook her head. No one gets left behind. We don't have time to argue, Garcia said. He pulled out explosive charges from his pack. I can seal this tunnel behind you and buy you the time you need to reach the ship. Carter looked at the young soldier with respect. Are you sure about this, Private? Garcia nodded. My father was on the Mars colony when the Zarelians attacked. Get these alien leaders back to Earth and end this war, sir. That's all that matters. With heavy hearts, they continued on, leaving Garcia to set his charges. Minutes later, they heard explosions behind them as he collapsed the tunnel, preventing pursuit. 50 minutes until the drive recharges, Collins reported as they emerged from the tunnel into the adjacent building. They fought their way to the roof, but as they approached the Whisper, disaster struck. A Zarelian patrol ship spotted them and fired on their vessel. The Whisper's engines were hit, sending flames and smoke into the night sky. No! Collins ran to the damaged ship and quickly assessed the situation. The quantum drive is still intact, but the navigation system is fried. I can't pilot it without being able to see where we're going. Can you fix it? Carter asked. Collins shook his head. Not in the time we have left. Major Valdez stepped forward. Then we'll have to do it manually. I can link the navigation controls directly to the neural interface in my tactical helmet. That would mean, Martinez began. Yes, Valdez interrupted. I'd have to stay connected to the ship during the jump. There's no way to disconnect safely once the process starts. Carter understood what she was saying. You'd be merged with the ship's systems when we arrive at Earth. There's no coming back. From that, Valdez looked at the Zarelian prisoners, then back at her team. Private Garcia gave his life to get us this far. I'm willing to do the same to finish the mission. While Collins and Valdez worked on the ship, Carter and Martinez guarded the prisoners. Zarelian forces were converging on their position from all directions. 20 minutes until the drive recharges, Collins called out as he finished the modifications. Valdez connected her helmet to the ship's systems. I can see the navigation paths now. It's beautiful, like seeing the underlying structure of space itself. They boarded the ship, securing the Zarelian prisoners in the cargo hold. Valdez sat in the pilot's seat, her eyes closed as she interfaced directly with the quantum drive. Everyone secure for jump, she said, her voice strangely calm. 10 minutes to recharge completion. Zarelian forces reached the rooftop and began firing on the Whisper. The ship's shields were failing under the assault. We're not going to make it, Martinez said as the ship shuddered around them. Yes, we will, Valdez replied with absolute certainty. She opened her eyes, which now glowed with the same energy as the quantum drive. I'm bypassing safety protocols. We can jump now, but the strain will rupture the drive after we arrive. Do it, Carter ordered. Reality folded around them once more. The sensation was more violent this time, as if the fabric of space itself was tearing. When they emerged, Earth hung before them, beautiful and blue in the darkness of space. We made it, Collins whispered. In the pilot's seat, Major Valdez sat motionless, her body fused with the ship's systems. The glow in her eyes slowly faded. She had given her life to bring them home. 5 days later, Admiral Carter stood in the United Earth Alliance Council chamber with Lieutenant Martinez. Before them, the 3 Zarelian leaders sat under heavy guard. We have reviewed your terms, Supreme Commander Zorel said, his voice translated through Martinez's device. The Zarelian Empire has never before signed a peace treaty with a lesser species. First time for everything, Carter replied evenly. President Nelson stepped forward. These terms are non-negotiable. Earth and all human colonies are recognized as sovereign territory. Reparations will be paid for our destroyed colonies, and humanity will be granted a seat on the Galactic Council you've kept hidden from us. The Zarelian leaders conferred briefly among themselves. Finally, Zorel turned back to face the humans. We misjudged your species, he admitted. We saw your pursuit of peace as weakness. We now recognize it was restraint. The peace treaty was signed that day. The war that had cost millions of lives on both sides was over. 5 years later, Ambassador Olivia Martinez represented humanity in the Galactic Council, now open to all spacefaring civilizations. Admiral Carter led a joint human-Zarelian expedition to establish diplomatic relations with other species. Dr. Susan Wright and Adam Reeves worked together to adapt military technology for peaceful purposes. The quantum drive, refined and made, safe revolutionized interstellar travel. Ryan Collins trained a new generation of pilots, teaching them to explore rather than fight. And at the Space Academy, cadets learned about the sacrifices of Private Garcia and Major Valdez, whose courage had helped end the war. In the council chamber on a neutral world, Martinez faced a representative from a newly discovered aggressive species. Their ambassador pounded the table, demanding concessions and making veiled threats. Are humans willing to fight for what they claim? The alien ambassador challenged. Or will you bow to superior strength? Martinez smiled coolly, remembering all that humanity had endured and overcome. We don't seek war, she replied. But trust me when I say, you don't want to see what happens when humanity brings its full force to bear. Peace is always the better option. The ambassador studied her face, seeing the quiet confidence there, the look of someone who knew exactly what war cost and what humans were capable of when pushed. Without another word, the ambassador sat down, ready to discuss peaceful solutions. Instead, as Martinez walked from the chamber later, she looked up at the stars visible through the transparent dome. Somewhere out there, the Zarelians were rebuilding, just as humanity was, former enemies now cautious allies, brought together by the shared understanding that some lines should never be crossed. The war had taught both species a valuable lesson. True power came not from dominance, but from wisdom. Not from conquest, but from knowing when to extend a hand in peace and when to clench it into a fist.